My mother practiced heartbreak on my porch like it was a church play. My father stood beside her, rubbing his hands together, repeating one sentence under his breath. We just want our daughter back. Behind them, parked at the curb, my sister sat in her white SUV with the window cracked open, directing every word. Mom, cry softer. Dad, look hurt, not angry. And don't mention the court papers unless she does. They forgot my doorbell camera recorded sound. They forgot I was not the same woman they had trained to stay quiet. I watched the whole performance from my car outside the senior clinic where I worked, holding a cold cup of coffee and listening to my family rehearse love. What they did not know was that I had already spent 7 months building a case against them, and by the time their fake tears reached my porch, the truth was already signed, copied, and waiting in a lawyer's folder. My name is Lenora Wexley. I am 43 years old, a nurse practitioner in Pine Hollow, Missouri, and for most of my life, my family called me the selfish one because I left home to build something of my own. My sister Celeste stayed close, married a builder named Grady Pierce, had the big house, the church smile, and the kind of voice people trusted before they listened to the words. My parents, Mavis and Dale, treated her like the loyal daughter and treated me like a visitor who kept forgetting her place. But my grandmother, Eleanor, never did. She owned 54 acres outside town, good pasture land with a creek, 2 walnut trees, and an old red barn that leaned like it was tired but still standing. Every summer she told me, "Lenora, this land is for you. You will protect it better than anyone." She said it in front of my parents. She said it in front of Celeste. Nobody argued then, because nobody thought an old woman's promise would become a battlefield. Then Grandma got sick. Heart failure first, then a stroke that stole part of her speech. Celeste moved fast. She said she was only helping. She took Grandma to appointments, answered calls for her, sat beside her at the bank, and convinced her to sign a power of attorney just for bills. I was working double shifts at the clinic, helping older patients who had no one else, and driving to Grandma's house every night after closing. Celeste smiled at me in the doorway and said, "You can visit, Lenora, but don't start acting like you run things." 3 weeks after Grandma died, I checked county records because something in my stomach would not settle. There it was, plain as daylight. Eleanor Wexley's 54 acres had been transferred to Grady Pierce for $170,000. The land had been appraised by local banks at almost $480,000. My sister had used Grandma's power of attorney to sell my inheritance to her husband for barely a third of its value, then told the family it was needed for medical debt. There was no medical debt. Medicare and Grandma's supplemental plan had paid almost everything. When I confronted them, my mother said, "Celeste was there when you were busy pretending strangers were your family." My father stared at the floor. Celeste laughed into the phone and said, "Grandma was confused near the end. That land would have been wasted on you anyway. You never even had children to leave it to." That was the insult that went into my bones. Not because I needed children to prove my worth, but because she had measured my whole life and decided I was empty. That night, I took every family photo off my walls. I did not scream. I did not beg. I called an attorney in another county named Russell Vane, and he told me what Celeste had done had a name: breach of fiduciary duty. He said proving it would take time: bank records, land appraisal, power of attorney documents, transfer papers, witness statements. So I gave my family silence, and I gave my lawyer everything else. For 7 months, Celeste told Pine Hollow I was unstable. She told church ladies I had never handled grief well. She told my patients I was under stress. Grady told men at the hardware store that some women get bitter when they realize they missed their chance at a real family. I heard it all. Older women at my clinic would pat my hand and whisper, "We know your grandmother wanted you to have that farm." I would smile and check their blood pressure. I had learned something important. Guilty people hate silence because they cannot control what grows inside it. If you have ever been painted as cruel just because you finally stopped explaining yourself, stay with this story. Sometimes the quiet season is not weakness. Sometimes it is evidence gathering. Then the court notice reached Grady. 2 days later, my parents appeared on my porch. My mother dabbed her eyes. My father practiced his line. Celeste directed them from the SUV like a stage manager. When I came home, they were still sitting on my steps after waiting nearly 4 hours. I let them inside. My mother hugged me too tightly and said, "We miss our family." My father whispered, "We just want our daughter back." Exactly the way Celeste had taught him. Neither of them asked if I was sleeping. Neither asked about the clinic. After 30 minutes of small talk, Mom finally said, "The Harvest Homecoming picnic is next Saturday. People are talking, Lenora. We want everyone to see us together." There it was. Not love. Public repair. They did not want me back. They wanted my face beside theirs so the town would stop asking why Grandma's land now had Grady's construction trucks on it. I told them I would come. My mother cried real tears of relief because she thought she had won. My father looked ashamed, but shame is not the same as courage. After they left, I saved the porch video, sent it to Russell, and called my grandmother's oldest friend, Bernice Holt. Bernice was 78, sharp-tongued, and had played cards with Grandma every Thursday for 40 years. She arrived at my clinic 2 days later carrying a faded sewing basket. "Your grandmother told me to give this to you when the family started rewriting her," she said. Inside was Grandma's blue church apron, a silver thimble, and a small brass key sewn into the hem. Behind the key was a note in Grandma's shaky handwriting. "Lenora, Box 219, trust paper. Don't let Celeste sell my wishes." I sat in my office with that apron in my lap and cried harder than I had cried at the funeral. Grandma had known. Even half sick, even surrounded by people trying to manage her, she had found a way to leave me a road back to the truth. The safe deposit box held a notarized letter from Grandma to an independent attorney. It said clearly that she wanted the 54 acres to pass to me. It said Celeste had pressured her more than once to make things fair. It said the power of attorney was only meant for bills and care, not for selling land to family. The witnesses were Bernice Holt and Reverend Amos Clay. Russell read the letter twice, then looked at me and said, "This will not magically undo everything by itself, but combined with the sale price and the family relationship, it is powerful." The hearing was set for 2 weeks after Harvest Homecoming. I knew then why I needed to attend that picnic. Not to forgive, not to smile, to let the truth stand in daylight. Harvest Homecoming was the kind of town event older people love because it remembers everything young people forget. Folding chairs under maple trees, veterans selling raffle tickets, churchwomen guarding pies like bank vaults. A small stage near the courthouse lawn. I set up my clinic booth like I did every year, free blood pressure checks and diabetes screenings. But in my bag, under the consent forms, I carried copies of 3 things: the land appraisal, the transfer record, and Grandma's notarized letter. I was not planning to shout. I was done shouting inside my own heart. I only planned to answer honestly if someone asked. Celeste arrived like a woman coming to a coronation. Cream dress, pearl earrings, Grady beside her, my parents behind them like hired extras. She had arranged for Grady's company to sponsor the stage and had given herself a microphone during the community recognition speech. She smiled at me across the lawn, the same smile she had used at Grandma's bedside when she told me not to upset anyone. At noon, she stepped onto the stage and began praising family, legacy, sacrifice, and community. Then she said, "My husband and I are proud to bring new life to the old Wexley property, land that might have sat forgotten if we had not stepped in." The crowd shifted. Bernice, standing near my booth with Grandma's apron folded over her arm, said loud enough for half the lawn to hear. Forgotten? Eleanor promised that land to Lenora for 20 years. That sentence cracked the whole day open. Mr. Talbot, a retired farmer who knew every acre in the county, walked to the public records table and found the transfer. 170,000? He said loudly. For that pasture? That is robbery wearing Sunday shoes. People gathered. Older women leaned over the table. Men did the math in their heads. Grady's face hardened. Celeste came straight toward me, heels sinking into the grass, anger dressed as dignity. You planned this, she hissed. You brought these old people here to embarrass me. I looked at her hands pressed on my clinic table, inches from Grandma's apron, and said, No, Celeste. You brought stolen land into a public picnic and expected everyone to clap. She raised her voice. Grandma was confused. She did not know what she wanted. I took care of her while you played saint with strangers. That was when I opened the folder. Slowly, calmly, like I was opening a patient chart. Independent appraisal, $480,000. Transfer to Grady Pierce, $170,000. Notarized letter from Lenora Wexley stating the land was meant for me and that you were pressuring her. I placed the papers beside Grandma's apron. You said she was confused. Her signature was steady enough for a notary, 2 witnesses, and a safe deposit box you did not know existed. The crowd went silent. Celeste turned white. Grady stepped back. My mother covered her mouth. My father finally looked at me, and for once, he did not look through me. Celeste snapped. You ungrateful, bitter woman, she screamed. No husband, no children, no real home, and you still think you deserved everything. The insult landed in front of the whole town, but this time it did not bury me. It exposed her. Reverend Amos stepped forward and said, Eleanor knew exactly what she wanted. I witnessed that letter. Bernice placed Grandma's apron over my shoulders like a blessing. My father's voice came next, rough and late. Celeste, stop. We knew the price was wrong. My mother began crying, but I had no room left for her tears. I looked at my sister and said, You rehearsed my parents on my porch last week. My camera recorded every word. You did not come for forgiveness. You came because the lawsuit scared you. Celeste had no answer. For the first time in her life, she had no script strong enough to cover the truth. Grady tried to leave, but I said his name before he reached the parking lot. He turned. I kept my voice low. The complaint is filed. Court is in 2 weeks. Breach of fiduciary duty, undervalued sale, family self-dealing, and now witness statements. His jaw tightened. You will ruin this family. I said, No, I am just returning the bill. That line traveled through Pine Hollow faster than church gossip. By sunset, everyone knew about the apron, the key, the letter, and the land. If you are listening to this and you have ever been called dramatic for telling the truth, remember this. People only call it drama when they liked the lie better. Grady's attorney called Russell the day before court. They wanted to settle. Full difference in value, legal fees, and a written admission that the sale had been made under conflict of interest. I did not take the land back. Grady had already poured foundations for his project, and I was not interested in living inside ruins. I took the money Grandma meant me to have, and I used it to expand my clinic. I opened an elder care wing with transportation help, grief counseling, and legal referral days for seniors whose families were helping a little too much. I named it the Lenora Wexley Center. On opening day, Bernice cut the ribbon with Grandma's sewing scissors. My mother calls on Sunday afternoons now, but I do not pretend we are healed. My father comes by the clinic once a month and fixes small things without asking for praise. Celeste has not spoken to me since the picnic. Grady still builds houses, but not on trust. People remember. Older people especially remember. They remember who stood quiet. They remember who lied loudly. And they remember who carried proof in a plain manila folder while everyone else carried excuses. My mother practiced tears on my porch. My father rehearsed love because he had forgotten how to say it honestly. My sister tried to direct one last family performance, but she forgot the camera had audio. Grandma had a key, and I had finally learned how to stop begging people to choose me. In the end, I did not destroy my family. I only stopped protecting their version of the story. And sometimes that is the hardest revenge of all. Commentary, discussion, explanation, and lessons. Now let's slow down and look at what this story really showed us, because this was not just a family fight over land. On the surface, it looked like one sister stole Grandma's farm. The parents stayed silent, and the truth came out at a public town picnic. But underneath that, this story was about control, silence, fake love, and the moment one woman finally stopped protecting people who had already betrayed her. Lenora did not begin the story as someone trying to destroy her family. She began as someone who simply wanted the truth respected. Her grandmother made a promise. That land was not just dirt, pasture, and old fencing. It was memory. It was trust. It was the one place where Lenora felt chosen. So when Celeste sold that land to her own husband for far less than its real value, the betrayal was not only financial, it was emotional, it was personal. It was the kind of betrayal that tells someone, your place in this family can be erased if it benefits us. The most interesting part is how the family tried to manage the damage. They did not come to Lenora's porch because they missed her. They came because the lawsuit was real. They came because people in town were asking questions. That porch scene is powerful because it exposes something many families do in real life. They rehearse apology without feeling regret. They practice tears without accepting guilt. They want the picture of forgiveness, but not the pain of accountability. Lenora's mother wanted the town to see them together again, but she did not first say, "We were wrong." Her father repeated a line, but he still had not found the courage to tell the full truth. And Celeste, sitting in the car, directing the whole thing, shows us that some people do not want peace. They want control with softer lighting. Lenora's revenge was strong because it was not loud in the beginning. She did not run through town telling everyone. She did not beg people to believe her. She did not fight with Celeste every day on the phone. She went silent, gathered documents, hired a lawyer, found the appraisal, checked the transfer records, and waited. That is a different kind of strength. Many people think revenge means screaming, exposing, and reacting fast. But in this story, revenge means discipline. It means knowing when to stay quiet and when to speak. It means understanding that truth becomes stronger when it is supported by proof. Lenora did not bring rumors to the picnic. She brought receipts. And that is why Celeste fell apart. A liar can fight emotion, but a liar has a hard time fighting documents. The grandmother's hidden key adds a deeper emotional layer. Grandma Eleanor knew something was wrong before she died. She knew Celeste was pressuring her. She knew the family might twist her wishes after she was gone, so she did what she could. She hid a key inside an old apron, leaving Lenora a final message. That part of the story is not just a twist. It is the heart of the story. It shows that love does not always arrive loudly. Sometimes love is quiet preparation. Sometimes the person who truly cares about you leaves protection behind, even when they cannot stand beside you anymore. Grandma's key became more than evidence. It became proof that Lenora had not imagined the promise. She had not misunderstood. She had been loved, chosen, and trusted. The public exposure at Harvest Homecoming worked because Lenora did not force the truth onto people. She let the truth become visible. Celeste tried to control the microphone, the stage, and the family image. But Lenora had something stronger than a microphone. She had facts. When the town saw the sale price, the appraisal, and Grandma's letter, they understood immediately. This matters because communities often know more than people think. A bad person may control a story for a while, but not forever. Eventually, the numbers do not match. The behavior does not match. The fake tears do not match the real actions. The biggest lesson from this story is that forgiveness should never be used as a cover for injustice. Lenora did not become cruel because she set boundaries. She became free. She did not hate her parents, but she stopped pretending their silence was harmless. She did not chase Celeste for closure because some people only use conversations to twist the truth again. And she did not waste the settlement money on revenge for herself. She used it to build something useful for older people in her community. That is a powerful ending. The money taken from Grandma's legacy became care, safety, and dignity for others. So what can we learn from Lenora's story? First, real love does not need a script. If someone has to practice being sorry, they may only be sorry they got caught. Second, silence is not always weakness. Sometimes silence is strategy. Third, family loyalty should never mean accepting theft, disrespect, or emotional manipulation. And finally, proof matters. When people try to rewrite your story, your calm truth can become your strongest defense. This story reminds us that standing up for yourself may feel lonely at first. People may call you dramatic, bitter, selfish, or cold. But when you know the truth, and when you protect that truth with patience, your life can change. Lenora did not win because she was louder than Celeste. She won because she was steadier. She stopped asking her family to choose her, and she chose herself. And sometimes, that one decision is where real justice begins.